talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Monday? Hope you're having a good one. Tonight, let me tell you about Sterling Hayden, movie star, war hero, old school stud. I'm telling you, you're not going to believe it. This guy was just not taking no for an answer. Before we get going too far, please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, especially share. Come on, share. Tell all your friends. I know you got friends, influential people. And down at the bottom is a whole bunch of stuff that it prevents me from begging during the show, basically. I don't have to beg during the show if I just put that down there. It does the begging for me. You're welcome. Hey, let's get started. That way I'll have more time to put the link up at the end of the show, and that provides you an opportunity to come on to the show. And won't that be exciting? Let's talk a little bit about the one and the only Sterling Hayden. Thank you, StreamYard, for not going back to the previous settings. There we go. That's nicer. That's nicer. Wait a minute. Almost a dead ringer, some would say. Sterling Hayden, as I mentioned, movie star, war hero, stud, old school man's man. Sterling Hayden was born March 26, 1916. By the way, if you've ever seen the movie Godfather, The Godfather, for you younger audiences, he was in it, and in a pivotal role. We'll get to it. He was born in 1916 in Upper Montclair, New Jersey, to George and Frances Walter. Walter, you say? How could their last name be Walter? His name's Sterling Hayden. Well, they named him Sterling Relaya. Relya, don't ask me, Walter. But after his father died, Sterling was adopted when he was 9 years old by James Hayden, and therefore renamed Sterling Hayden. So as a child, he lived in the coastal towns of New England. And Dynasty, yeah, whatever. Yes, that's true. I'll get to it. Jeez. Called a spoiler alert, dude. No, I appreciate you participating in the show. And you're right. And I'm getting to it. It'll happen in a second. But you're exactly correct. Most people don't know that. You're to be complimented. Now, at the age, he dropped out of high school when he was 16 and took a job as a mate on a schooner. And his first voyage was to Newport. God, what is it with the start of the show? I can't even speak. Okay, let's get back on the beam here. His first voyage was to Newport Beach, California. I'm supposed to be really good at talking. From New London, Connecticut. Okay, so he went from New London, Connecticut, all the way around to Newport Beach, California. And later, he was a fisherman on the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. He ran a charter yacht, and he served as a fireman on 11 trips to Cuba aboard a steamer. He skippered, that's right, captain, a trading schooner in the Caribbean after earning his master's license. And in 1937, at the age of 21, he served as a mate on a world cruise of the brigantine Yankee, ship called the Yankee. After working as a sailor or fireman on larger vessels and sailing around the world several times, he was awarded his first command at age 22, skippering the square rigger Florence C. Robinson, 7,700 miles from Gloucester, Massachusetts to Tahiti in 1938. He spoke of his nautical experiences before the monthly meeting of the Adventurers Club of New York on March 21st of 1940. By the way, a square rigger is... it's sort of a sailing vessel, a big sailing vessel. Giant. So it wasn't powered by engines. They sailed those 7,700 miles. So in 1938, his photo was taken during the annual Gloucester, Massachusetts Fisherman's Race, and it went on the cover of their magazine. Somebody from Paramount Pictures saw this, and they called him up and offered him a screen test. And he did the screen test in New York with Jean Cagney, who's James Cagney's sister. And he later said, This is my best Sterling Hayden impersonation, by the way. I was completely lost, ignorant, nervous. But the next thing I knew, Paramount made me a 7-year contract beginning at $250 a week, which was astronomical. I got my lovely old mother and bought a car, and we drove to California. I was so lost then, I didn't think to analyze it. I said, this is nuts, but damn, it's pleasant. I only had one plan in mind, to get $5,000 because I knew there was a schooner, and then I'd haul ass. He just wanted to be a sailor. He wanted to sail the world. And when I say sail, I mean real sails. You want none of this engine nonsense. That was for sissies. Sissies. So he goes to Paramount in May of 1940, and the studio dubbed him, 6'5", the most beautiful man in the movies and the beautiful blonde Viking god. All right? By December of 1941, it was reported that Hayden had quit the movie business and declared, I'm no actor, I'm a sailor. But in the meantime, before he quit, he had 2 Paramount film roles. But he leaves Hollywood to fight in World War II. He enlisted in the Army and was sent to Scotland for training, but broke his ankle, so they discharged him. Well, we're talking about Sterling Hayden here, no ordinary man. Once he recovered from his broken ankle, he just went ahead and re-enlisted in the Marine Corps. Like, forget it. I'm going to the Marine Corps. So there you are. There he is in the Marine Corps. That's not a movie picture. That's a Marine Corps photo. And he was very worried that his fellow Marines wouldn't take him seriously because of his Hollywood fame. So he made them give him a fake name, a pseudonym, John Hamilton, which he used throughout his career in the military. And in June of 1943, he had his name legally changed to John Hamilton. Well, after selection to and graduation from the Marine Corps Officer Candidate School, by the way, here's another photo of him in the Marine. This is an official Marine Corps document of him in service there. I think it might have been at his graduation. So he graduates from Officer Candidate School and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps Reserve and was transferred for duty as an undercover agent with William Wild Bill Donovan's Office of Coordination of Information. And he remained there after it became the more famous title, the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS. He was in the OSS during the war, basically a secret agent, okay, during World War II. He received the Silver Star for gallantry in action in the Balkans and in the Mediterranean. According to his citation, Lieutenant Hamilton, Sterling Hayden, remember his name was John Hamilton now, Lieutenant Hamilton displayed great courage in making hazardous sea voyages in enemy-infested waters and reconnaissance through enemy-held areas. A Bronze Star arrowhead device for parachuting behind enemy lines, and a commendation from Yugoslavia's Joseph Tito. He left active duty on December 24th, 1945, and Tito awarded him the Order of Merit. That is a very shorthanded description of what Sterling Hayden did during the Second World War. You can read about all of his individual missions. He was in heavily German-held territories and sailed into them, docked, put explosives on German ship, did all sorts of crazy espionage stuff. And this is after he was a Hollywood movie star, right? Again, just wanted to be a sailor. And being in the OSS afforded him the ability to do this. Because not only was he a secret agent, a lot of those other guys didn't know how to go to a dockyard and find the guys they needed to sail a vessel and make it happen and all the rest of it. if you really want, just look it up sometime. I could do a whole show just on the things he did in World War II. At any rate, Sterling Hayden returns to the United States, and he told the press, "I feel a real obligation to make this a better country, and I believe the movies are the place I can do it." He signed a contract again with Paramount and was cast as one of several brothers in the aviation film Blaze of Noon. The studio, of course, suspended him when he turned down a role in The Sainted Sisters. He made 2 films for Pine Thomas Productions that were distributed through Paramount. One was a Western, El Paso, featuring John Wayne. The other was Manhandled, a thriller with Dorothy Lamour. Now, these are big stars, and Sterling Hayden is right there with them. But then, in 1950, Hayden appeared in one of his most celebrated roles as the hooligan, the tough guy, Dix Handley, in the Academy Award-nominated film, The Asphalt Jungle. And here he is in that film. If you've never seen The Asphalt Jungle, it holds up to this day. It is a legendary film noir movie. For my money, it may be the best. Incredible movie. And it was a movie, incidentally, that had tons of Hollywood stars in it. It wasn't just him. As you can see, Marilyn Monroe is in this film as well. And that's the Asphalt Jungle right there. There's all the various characters that are in the Asphalt Jungle. You ought to check it out sometime. Really good movie. The next thing that happened to Sterling Hayden was probably the biggest vexation on his entire life. It was something that he was ashamed of. And that is his admiration for the communist partisans that he had fought alongside during World War II led him into a brief membership in the Communist Party from June to December of 1946. In one of his communist assignments, he supported an effort by the communist-controlled Motion Picture Painters Union to absorb other film industry unions. That's like, oh boy, what a terrible thing. He wanted the unions to band together. Anyway, as many of you may know, in 1947, the House Un-American Activities Committee subpoenaed 10 screenwriters and directors, later known as the Hollywood 10, as part of an investigation to subversive elements in the film industry. And immediately, a large group of movie luminaries, including Sterling Hayden, who by this time was a huge star, they formed the Committee for the First Amendment to protest what they perceived as political harassment. In the next few years, as the Second Red Scare gripped the U.S., the House Un-American Activities Committee expanded its probe to include all entertainment industry professionals with suspected links, past or present. And consequently, Sterling Hayden became a target. In 1950, fearful that his past might cost him his future, in his own words, he sought the aid of entertainment lawyer Martin Gang, who is known as the best lawyer for these things in Hollywood. And this guy sent a letter to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover and said, "I've got an unnamed client who joined the party as a youthful misadventure and now regrets it and wants to clear his name." Well, J. Edgar Hoover was known for just hanging people out to dry, right? He didn't have much mercy for communists, but he recommended talking to local FBI agents so that if anybody subsequently makes a complaint, we'll know that he's all right as far as we're concerned. And they then worked out an acceptable format for Hayden's testimony to Congress. So upon the advice of this lawyer, and in a decision that would haunt Hayden for the rest of his life, he agreed to become a friendly witness and name names. He later said, "The FBI made it very clear to me that if I became an unfriendly witness, I could damn well forget about the custody of my children." He was in the middle of divorce and wanted custody. I didn't want to go to jail. That was the other thing. So the committee subpoenaed Hayden in late March 1951, and on April 10th, he testified before the committee in Washington, D.C. that joining the party was the stupidest and most ignorant thing I have ever done in my life. He added after he quit the party, actress Karen Morley tried to persuade him to rejoin, but he refused. Now, due to his highly decorated war service in the Marines and his decision to cooperate with the committee, he received very favorable press coverage during this time. But he did name a former mistress, his agent's secretary, who had recruited him into the party. He also named, among others, Robert Lees, Karen Morley, Maurice Murphy, and Abraham Polanski. And the result was that he ended up a hero to the public, but a coward to himself. And those are his words. For decades afterwards, he expressed remorse over his testimony. In his autobiography, he wrote, "I don't think you have the foggiest notion of the contempt I've had for myself since the day that I did that thing." Because of his cooperative testimony, he was cleared by the committee and avoided the Hollywood blacklist. So then, basically, he just continues making movies. Some of them absolute classics, and he was classic in them. He did The Star with Bette Davis, Denver and the Rio Grande, a Western for Paramount, The Golden Hawk, which is a pirate swashbuckler. By the way, never see that movie. Seeing Sterling Hayden dressed up as a swashbuckler using old 1700s language is not very good. It's not. So working regularly and in supporting roles, and keep in mind he did this so he could buy sailing ships, he earned a very substantial income. And in November 1952, at the start of his lengthy divorce from his second wife, it was revealed in court proceedings he had made $100,000 the previous year, which was just gigantic money back then. Kept starring in movies. He was in Prince Valiant. He played Sir Gawain. He was in Arrow in the Dust. But then came his next picture, the legendary Johnny Guitar, which was just supposed to be a throwaway Western. But this one starred Joan Crawford and was directed by Nicholas Ray. It was a box office hit and a cult favorite. And if you've not seen Johnny Guitar ever, you're missing out. It is an amazing Western. Write it down, Johnny Guitar. They kept putting him in film noir movies, Naked Alibi with Gloria Graham, and suddenly with Frank Sinatra, a film members only have seen right here on the Tom Gulley Show. I'm going to try to find, let me see if I can find the photo from that SJ Fanboy did. I'll see if I forgot to put it up here. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find it real fast. Suddenly, there's all this. I just named it Suddenly Poop. Now I got to daggone it. Let me see if I can find it. I think I put my face on the picture. Let's see here. That's not it. Oh, maybe it is. We'll see. We'll see. That's not it. I'll get it here in a minute. Don't worry. Stick with me, kids. Stick with me. There's one. Let's see if this is it. It's always the last one, folks. If I can't find it, we'll just say forget it. But it'll be a laugh. Trust me, it'll be a goof. You'll enjoy it. It'll be a goof. Doggone it, it's not there. Let's see here if I can find it here. I know I have one. I know I got one. No, that's not it. Oops. I know I have one. Please. I'm not finding it, so we're not going to show it. It's basically Sterling Hayden with my face on it, so who cares? Anyway, you can see Suddenly, which is a story of a presidential assassination. It's got Frank Sinatra in it, and he plays the good guy in the movie. He was in a lot of other movies. He was in Timberjack, Shotgun, The Eternal Sea, Top Gun, World War II naval story, before the one is Top Gun. There was one called The Last Command about the Alamo, and he was Jim Bowie. And in 1956, he starred in the movie that I've got the picture up right now called The Killing, which was made by an up-and-coming filmmaker by the name of Stanley Kubrick. Didn't do well at the box office, but it got huge critical praise. And he would later work with Stanley Kubrick in another of his better roles. So he's in all these acclaimed films, but he really was a star of a lot of B movies, right? And he also did television. He did Dick Powell's Zane Grey Theater, Wagon Train, General Electric Theater, Schlitz Playhouse, Playhouse 90, Goodyear Theater, the DuPont Show of the Month. And he often, and I don't mean once in a while, but he very often expressed his distaste for acting in movies. He said he did it mainly to pay for his schooners and his voyages. And after 1958's bitter divorce with his wife, he was awarded custody of their 4 children. And in 1959, he defied a court order which barred him from taking his children out of the U.S. by sailing to Tahiti with all 4 of his kids. And he used his kids as the crew, and they sailed from San Francisco Bay to Tahiti. He was going to do a movie there. Didn't end up happening, but he invited well-known photographer Dodie Weston Thompson to document the trip and shoot location choices. And the ship's name was the Wanderer, and they have huge amounts of photos of not only the journey, but arriving in Tahiti and everything else. But when they, found out about the trip and the fact that he hadn't really done a movie, they made him repay Republic Pictures nearly $50,000 because they actually had paid to finance his trip, thinking he was going to make a movie. Yeah. So in 1960, he said he was a sailor or writer rather than an actor. He was still troubled by his testimony before the House Un-American Activities Committee. He said, I had it. With acting. One way or another, I felt that I sold out or failed at almost everything my whole life. It was either turn things around or hang myself. So in the early 60s, he rented out one of the pilots' houses of the rented ferry boat Berkeley, docked in Sausalito, California, where he lived while writing his autobiography called Wanderer, which was published in 1963. Now, also in 1963, Stanley Kubrick, his old buddy, coaxed him out of retirement to play one of his best-known characters, and that is the deranged General Jack D. Ripper in Dr. Strangelove. And that's obviously a legendary role, and I wish the Wolf was here because he loves that character for reasons I will not mention at this time. He returned to acting with Hard Contract in 1969, supporting James Coburn, and Loving, co-starring George Segal and Eva Marie Saint. He had small but important parts in The Godfather. Do you remember him in The Godfather? I'll bet you do, but you might not have known it was Sterling Hayden. Remember in The Godfather where Michael goes to the meeting with Sollozzo and gets the gun out of the bathroom and goes back and shoots the 2 people at the table, one of which was the police captain that stand him up and hits Michael, breaks his jaw? That was Sterling Hayden. Yes, that was Sterling Hayden. Gets shot in the throat while he's eating his veal. That guy. Oh, look, it's Clay Combs has joined us. I know this is the fake Clay Combs. And I know this Clay Combs doesn't like the show and vexates him because he doesn't do a show and could never do a show because he doesn't have the talent or the brains to do it. And so I am going to do him the great honor and the great favor of excusing him from the show forever. Bye-bye. Don't go away mad. Just go away. Anyway, so he was in The Godfather, and he was also in a great Elliot Gould movie. It's the most offbeat version of Raymond Chandler ever, called The Long Goodbye. He's amazing. Amazing. He was offered the role of Quint in Jaws, but he turned it down. Turned it down. Yes. He was a guest on NBC's Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder several times, and he would sport this long, scraggly beard. He talked about his career resurgence from The Godfather and other movies, and how it had funded his travels and adventures around the world. He appeared in a Canadian sci-fi TV series called The Star Lost, which is extremely good, and he also appeared on Banachek, which is one of my favorite shows, in which we really need to do a show about Banachek. He returned to Hollywood for King of the Gypsies, Winter Kills, The Outsider. He was in 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton and that whole gang. Venom, The Blue in the Grave. In 1981, he was arrested for possession of hashish in the Toronto International Airport. He was a dude, you know. He wrote 2 acclaimed books, an autobiography called Wanderer and a novel called Voyage in 1976. He said they made him a lot of money, but he lost most of it due to taxes. In 1983, he appeared in a documentary of his life called Pharaohs of Chaos. He was married 3 times, first to actress Madeleine Carroll, then to Betty Ann DeNoon. They had 4 children in a messy divorce. He was later married to Catherine Devine McConnell from 1960 until his death. Sterling Hayden died of prostate cancer in Sausalito in 1986 at the age of 70. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is really all I have to tell you about the man, the myth, the war hero, and the incredible legend that was Sterling Hayden. It was a man's man. Sailed the world over and over. And now it's time for me to put up the link. I will now be putting up the link. Hold on a second here. There we go. Hold on. I'll put the link up. Everybody will be thrilled. Nobody will come to the link. That'll be wonderful. Certainly not the fake Clay Combs. Please. He sure was a real firecracker, says Spanky's Fun and Games. The sacred link, it is. Do we make you nervous? No, you don't make me nervous. No, you make me nervous. You guys don't make me nervous. By the way, if I could ever possibly recreate the amount of joy and pleasure it gives me to block someone that just doesn't, they're not inventive, they're not creative, they have no good way to insult somebody. They're just not good at it. You know what I mean? That's not where I put the link. That's not how I do the link. I got to do the other thing with the link. Sorry, I'm getting my link tech down here. There we go. Now we're talking. Now we're making it happen. Now we're making this thing happen. Now it's becoming a reality to us all. Let me pin that sucker. There we go. There we go. That a baby. That a baby. Let's see here. Coach Mike says, I'm late here, but hello, chat. Oh, hey, Tom. Hey, how you doing, Coach? Nanny says, I'm sure glad that Toucan Sam SV loser isn't around. I have no idea what that means, Nanny. I'm not picking up what you're putting down. I'm sorry. Any of you guys ever tried to sail a boat? It's not a good thing. And when you sail across an ocean, You got to know like navigation by compass and all this other stuff, because if you get off a little ways, you're in bad shape. To say nothing of the weather. You know, you can get in a typhoon, you can get in a squall, you can get it's a heck of a thing. And he did it all the time just for yucks. And then he did all of this super dangerous stuff during World War II. It was when they were first starting the outfit that later became the Navy SEALs. And all of those guys were kind of lumped together for a while. And he was part of that too. So he was a real, like, serious dude. I think I like this picture better. There you go. That's just, hey, man. 6'5", that dude, you weren't going to mess with him. No, there he is again with the short topper. But the Asphalt Jungle, this movie here, it is such an amazing film noir movie. It was directed by John Huston, and it had well, you're probably not gonna know who any of these people are, but Lewis Calhern, Gene Hagen, James Whitmore, Sam Jaffe, John McIntyre, and Marilyn Monroe in one of her very first roles ever. You know, nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. Sam Jaffe actually won Best Actor for this movie. It is one of the most influential works in the crime film genre. It was an amazing, amazing film. Amazing. Trying to see. Yeah, I could go on and on and on. It's the number of famous actors that are in this movie are incredible. But Sterling was a nutcracker. Was kind of that. But he was one of these guys that was a little bit like Robert Mitchum and Lee Marvin, you know, and he was very disdainful of his acting and his fame. He was, you know, I show up and I do it and I go home, you know, that's it. Yeah, they like the money. They all said that. Well, you know, it pays good. But they'd ask him, when you get in this role to do this or to do that, what do you put your money? He's like, hey, you memorize your lines, you show up, they make a spot on the floor, you read them. That's it. There's no more to it than that. I'm not a fancy pants. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell if you're hanging out here today. Not many are. And at least spread it to your friends and whatnot as we try to get this admittedly schizophrenic program into the hands of people that'll appreciate it like you. Smart people. This is it's not a show for lunkheads. In fact, that's the tagline if we ever make a movie of this show. Not for lunkheads. I'm just kidding. At this point, we'll take the lunkheads too. Look at this. Speaking of film noir, I've got sunlight coming through an odd angle in my blinds right now. It's illuminating only my mouth, which is really probably not my best feature. Spanky's Fun and Games says, I am enjoying the program with my wife on the big screen. Hey, kids. It's the big screen. Hey, well, then this is just for you big screeners out there. Because you really don't get, I better take that out of there. Look at that. Is that not? That's one of my desktop wallpapers, by the way. I can't take full credit for that. I can't take full credit for that. I'm wondering who the genius was that got him to do that, because the movie really is about, excuse me there, movie really is about a scheme, a scam of a scheme, a scheme of a scam. And it's about a bunch of criminals getting together for a heist. So that's why it's a good picture, is they're all. Hey, by the way, if anybody has a suggestion for a show that you'd like us to do, now's the time, because I'll do one on anything. I'm leaning toward Nostradamus, but although Nostradamus's predictions are kind of fun, if you're into that kind of thing, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors behind that, because a lot of the people that translate his predictions and say, oh, what he was talking about here was clearly the World Trade Center, whatever. That's not that easy to do, because when he made those prophecies, making prophecies was illegal. So he wrote them in quatrains, these little 4-sentence verses. And then he assembled those into centuries, he called them, which were 100 of the 4-sentence verses. And I think he wrote 4 books of those, and then another book of only 42. But he wrote them in a combination of French and Latin and 1 or 2 other languages. So when the quatrains were translated into books over the years, all the translations are different. There's no 2 are the same. So anyway, so Nostradamus, I might do that one coming up here. I don't know. Very close to doing one on the Brannock device. I know a lot of you think this is just a contest to see how obscure these shows can be. The Brannock device, for those of you who don't know, when you go to a shoe store and they measure your foot, that metal thing that's flat and it's got the black, thing on it, and then they tighten it and see what the measurement is, that is the Brannock device. And it was invented 1 billion years ago, and they still use it to this day because they haven't come up with a better way. Before the Brannock device, they used a stick. It was a certain kind of, it was called the relief stick or something like that, and that's what they used. But then the Brannock device came along. They made billions of them, Why do I feel like saying 972 588 3665 or whatever the number is? I don't. The link is in the chat, the top of the chat. If you want to be on the show, you don't have to put your camera on, by the way. I should say that. When you go through the... Yes, Coach Mike, it was invented by a guy named Brannock. Not the right spelling, but that's okay. You are correct. If you do choose to come on to the show, you do not have to turn your camera on. You just have to have your microphone on. And that's got to be a major benefit right there, right? Now I got a vamp for 19 minutes because I didn't talk enough about Sterling Hayden. Do I have anything else I can show, or any other things going on here? I don't really. I tried to get an interview last week, and they didn't want to be interviewed. They said, thank you so much, this is so flattered, and blah, 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 but I'm not one. And I think it's because they're a little older, but I don't know why, and I don't care. It's their right. They don't have to be on the show. There's nobody says they have to be on the show. There's no thing that says they have to be on the show. Could always try to get my sister. She's a big shot. Been trying to get her for a long time. She's called in before, but She's called in before. Lucas Malago, by the way, thank you so much. Let me tell you something about Lucas Malago. Comes in here once in a while, and he, without fail, retweets my tweets about the show being live and all that. So thank you. I appreciate that. Sparky wants to know, who did I ask to interview? Well, I think that would defeat the purpose of them not wanting to be interviewed. I think they want to keep their anonymity. They may not want people to know I know them. And I don't blame them, frankly. I do not blame them. But I've been pretty lazy. I've got a bunch of other interviews I need to track down. And that's my fault. Oh, by the way, Jimmy Kimmel will be returning to his show tomorrow night. I believe that's what the press release said. I think tomorrow night he returns to the Jimmy Kimmel Show, for those of you keeping track of that melodrama. I think I saw that just before going on the air. Just before, let me double check this on my phone unit here. Jimmy Kimmel, to return to the air Tuesday after suspension. So there you are. By the way, his middle name is Christian. What do you think about that? No, I'm just saying, that's his middle name. So he is returning tomorrow night. And Spanky, I'm sorry if I said Sparky, although, Spanky, you should probably consider changing it to Sparky. Just saying, I think Sparky's a better name. There's already a pretty famous Spanky. In fact, there's two famous Spankies. There's Spanky from our gang, and then there's Spanky from the band named Spanky in our gang. And then Sparky, there's not that many Sparkies. Few, if any, that I know of. Let me see here. It's all gay Dabbleverse references with that guy, don't bother. What guy? Who are you talking about? The person that I was wanting to talk to was not from the Dabbleverse, and I'm not really interested in interviewing anyone from the Dabbleverse. Spanky Spangler, world's famous stuntman. I've never heard of him till just now. First I've heard of it. But I don't want none of that Dabbleverse up in here. I think the Dabbleverse has a few talented people in it, but I just can't immerse myself in that big bag of nothing. I just can't. You know, it was a little bit amusing for a while. But then it's like, well, this is the same thing all the time, is you're just making fun of this guy who's probably not equipped to fight back. And see, Spanky likes Sparky. I appreciate that. I think you should change it to Sparky. I think we'd both be happier if you changed it to Sparky. I've never heard of him. I need to get out more. Okay. Is that the game you want to play with me, Mike? Really? Is it? Of all people in the world, you want to play that game with me? Do you really think that's wise? Do you really think that's wise? Oh my God. 77 years old, Spanky Spangler is an American daredevil and theatrical stuntman who currently claims to hold the world record distance for a jump performed in an automobile at 328 feet. The most common stunt he performs is jumping off a platform or hot air balloon. Oh my God. I was getting excited and thinking I could do a whole show about this guy, but there's only 2 paragraphs on him. He often works as a behind-the-scenes stunt coordinator for Robbie Knievel. And the link to his private site is a broken link. So Much as I'd like to do a show on Spanky Spangler, I can't because there's not enough info on him. Nobody has ever accused me of being wise. I didn't accuse you of that either. I just asked if you thought it was wise. I didn't say, I wasn't trying to intimate that you in any way were, see if I got anything exciting here on the old desktop right now. Let's see if I've forgotten about anything that might be of interest to anybody here that might, I don't think I have. I think, what the hell is that? That's probably just, it's just nobody wants to, let me see here what's on this thing. Let me see here what this thing here is. We could have Randomata. I don't particularly want to go to Randomata, but we could do Randomata. I don't think anybody wants that, but we could do Randomata. It's an awful big file there, I'm telling you. We could have some Randomata. Involved in a head-on jump crash where the other driver was decapitated. Let me see if I can find the... only 12 minutes left, but what else are we going to do? Let me see if I can find Randomata. Let me see here. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, Randomata. Random phrases and clips from my good friend, the late, great Kipadata. We bring you Randomata. I'm just gonna, I think I can go to that one there. I'm gonna randomly, in this giant file, open with, we want to go to QuickTime Player. This gigantic file here. Double check, make sure that I can play QuickTime. Yep, I sure can. I kind of knew that. I was kind of aware of that. Let me see. Oh, there we are. Boom. Now it's time for a little bit of Randomata. Everybody's favorite, whatever. So I'm just randomly going to places in this file.
Yeah, and then how do I get it off of there?
You don't unless you record it off of your screen while you're doing it.
Okay, I think that... okay, I'm going to move my camera even closer. This time we take, of course...
Go on air live on your camera. You're live.
Got your receptors, you're enjoying the paint and the execution of the craft and all that, but it requires no heavy lifting on the viewers or the listeners' part. So they think, well, why is he so excited? It's just comedy material. Doesn't that roll off? Doesn't that you just make it up as you go along? Because that's really what the schmoes believe. Because that's the way I make it look when I'm on stage. It looks like it's the easiest thing in the world. It's my job to make it look easy.
Well,
but it is not easy.
I guess the trick is to make it look like the night that they see you is the first time you've ever said these things. That you're spontaneously coming up with them on stage. Do you recall the very first time that you witnessed, not heard, but witnessed someone doing your material?
Well, no, I don't recall the very first time, but there have been many times when I have walked through a nightclub and heard someone on stage doing my jokes. I see it on the internet. I see it in bars. I've sat at bars and heard people do my material and then stand there as if to say, aren't I clever? Rather than accrediting me, you know, Kip Addotta does a funny line and then say the line. It doesn't diminish the laugh you're going to get, but they don't seem to have any responsibility of attributing where the material came from.
No, that's my buddy Kip Addotta. I have about 60 hours of me talking with Kip Addotta. And many of you might not remember. You know, I haven't even done a show about, well, I don't know if I should do a show about Kip Addotta because I do a podcast. And the podcast, I've only done one volume so far of those 60 hours. I've been lazy and I haven't done any more Kip Addotta. Let's just go to another spot here in this particular file. Randomly, I'm just randomly doing this. He did an album called Jokes You Can Use that was nothing but jokes he wrote for the crowd to be able to use in their regular life. He's like, this is called Jokes You Can Use. And he just wrote a bunch of, which doesn't really necessarily what he did in his act, but they were just jokes that you would tell a friend. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. But Kip Addotta, a famous comedian. He was on The Tonight Show a million times. He was on all of those talk shows of the day. He wrote, he hosted a show on the Playboy Channel called Anything Goes for a number of years when the Playboy Channel first started. He was on Make Me Laugh all the time. I don't know if people remember Kip Addotta. Hey, Kip Addotta. Yeah, my good buddy Kip Addotta. Close friends.
Trust Kip Addotta. Trust Uncle Kippy. I would never slam you for 1999. I won't do it.
Well, if I could say so, if everybody out there that's listening knows the best practical jokes are the ones that are a Trojan horse, that you kind of seamlessly invite yourself to take part in. You participate without any sort of fear of a practical joke or anything, and you are in this practical joke. And I know the practical jokes I like are the ones that I don't realize it's a joke until I'm halfway in the middle of the river. It's been done so well. And the payoff is just, it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good. And also another option you may take is to never tell them that it's a practical joke and let them go away thinking, wow, what was that? And just never letting them in on the secret, which is enjoyable too, because they will be fooled.
Mm-hmm.
They will believe what you tell them and what is on the CD to be what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got here.
I mean, man, I like pooping as much as the next guy, but comes a time when you say, enough is enough of it.
I'm just glad if it ever becomes Olympic sport, we've got to jump on the Russians.
Well, look, it's very important, and elimination is so important.
Let's just move along. You might have been having... Yeah, he's an older guy, so...
Norton Lilly. No, Rob Lilly. Wait a minute. Ed Lilly Norton.
He might be reading...
Is he an animator? Crap whenever they want, and they need to understand, that's not going to happen. Well, a couple years ago, my brothers and sisters started saying, you know, Dad...
I don't know what that's about. Let's see what this is here. Not uncommon to have long lapses of Kip's going to find his pack of smokes. Something of that nature going on. Let me see if we can find another one here. Oh, let's just try this one. Let's just try this one. Come on, I've only got 4 minutes left in the show. Oh, daggone it, almost had it. Come on. There we go. This will only take a second. All right, I got to redo the sound. And there we go. Oh, the old Skype
Check,
dial.
testing 1, 2, check, check, check.
The old Skype
Check
dial.
1, check 2.
There we go.
I walked into Dantana's one night,
Oh, this
and
is
I
when
walked
he's-
up and I said,
This is when he's mad at Father Guido Sarducci. He's mad at Don Novello. Let's see if I can get the beginning of this one.
that's George Slaughter's personal secretary,
Awesome.
Jan Rowe.
She likes to touch you in the dark.
Yes.
But who doesn't?
Well,
Including yourself.
right. 200. Mike, I'll take care of the tab tomorrow. Now, if you go through 30 years of that, I mean, I think I...
You're welcome for that.
I don't think I showed people to their seats as much as I let them pick the seat they wanted, but I had a flashlight so that they wouldn't trip and fall, and I would kind of shine the flashlight along. The guy, you're just a girl, and okay, people are making a fuss over you. Well, that's their call. Well, you can say, well, you're the one that went after show business, but they don't understand really that yeah, I did, because I had no other choice. I had no other avenue. That was the only way, and it was a roll of the dice. I did what I did, and it worked out for me. Miracle of miracles. But never once in my life, I'm personally in wonder that you, like a person like you, is familiar with anything I've done. I don't get up in the morning and say, well, Kippadada's feeling well today.
Jeepers. You guys have been so good hanging around, all three of you. You know, we do this show, and sometimes the topics are awesome, and the people love it, and other times, you know, we just, and it just depends. Hopefully the way we do the show is good enough for some of you. It used to be that when I was on the radio, people would call in, you see, and that was a big part of the show, was the interaction with relatively unknown, you know, just people I didn't know anyway, that's the point. And online, I see other shows that are relatively obscure, and lots of people come on, but maybe it's just my personality. People just don't feel comfortable coming on, or they don't feel like they have anything to say, and it's okay. I'll pull it out of you. Anyway, that's going to do it for tonight. No idea what tomorrow night's show is about. I go in these streaks where last week I knew a week in advance what everything, and then sometimes it's like, I'll decide tomorrow at about noon. So anyway, you guys have been great. And with all that being said, I think, personally, the only thing left to say is, until next time, we'll see you next time.
One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about?